What you'll see in the next few seconds was hidden for decades, and it changed history forever.
Welcome to Eternal Moments. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Start.
In 1937, in the small town of Sneedville, Tennessee, a photograph shocked the United States. It showed Eunice Winstead, a girl just 9 years old, married to Charlie Johns, a man of 22. The marriage, although legal at the time, sparked outrage and headlines questioning child laws. For many, it was a disturbing image that showed the harshness of an era where childhood could be abruptly cut short. Today, it remains an uncomfortable reminder of what was once tolerated without question. In the heart of the Old West, legendary Texas Sheriff John Slaughter poses with his trusty shotgun, a symbol of authority and survival in a lawless land. Renowned for both his toughness and his cunning, he was feared by outlaws and respected by settlers. This image, of uncertain date, captures the essence of a man who embodied the wild frontier. It is a vivid portrait of the rough justice that shaped the history of the American West. In 1967, during the Six-Day War, 3 Israeli paratroopers stood before the Western Wall after the capture of the old city of Jerusalem. Their helmets still on their heads, and their incredulous gazes filled them with a picture of themselves in a moment that became historic. For many, the image symbolized the return of a people to one of their most sacred sites after centuries of absence. It is a photograph charged with emotion, hope, and a profound sense of national identity. In 1845, Ulysses S. Grant appears as a young officer with a discreet yet determined bearing, still far from becoming the famous general and president. His slender build and exceptional horsemanship distinguished him at West Point and in every unit where he served. This image captures the youth of a man destined to leave an indelible mark on American history. Even then, his discipline and talent already foreshadowed an extraordinary future. In the 1860s, a group of Shoshone Indigenous people gathered in the heart of the American Old West, preserving ancestral traditions amidst turbulent times. The photograph captures the strength of a united community, with clothing and gestures that tell stories of resilience and culture. Each face reflects the deep connection to the land they had inhabited for centuries. It is a visual testament to a time when Indigenous life faced drastic changes without losing its essence. In 1988, during the Somali Civil War, a group of South African and former Rhodesian pilots were at an airfield near Hargeisa, ready to take to the skies in Hawker fighter bombers. Hired as mercenaries and paid $2,000 per mission, their presence reflected the complex and violent reality of the conflict. The image captures the tension and risk of men fighting for money in someone else's war. It is a portrait of the chaos and audacity that defined that turbulent chapter in Somalia. In 1959, beneath the luxurious Greenbrier Hotel in West Virginia, a secret bunker was built, designed to house the United States Congress in the event of a nuclear war. This underground shelter, hidden among passageways and reinforced doors, combined advanced engineering with Cold War mystery. The image reveals a place where political power and paranoia coexisted underground. Today, it remains a fascinating symbol of an era obsessed with survival and secrecy. In 1951, some 4,000 people, many with their children, gathered outside Landsberg prison in West Germany, demanding amnesty for Nazi war criminals. Tensions escalated when members of the Jewish community protested, and the crowd responded with Nazi-era chants and violent attacks. The image captures a dark post-war moment where resentment and extremist ideology still simmered in society. It is a haunting reminder of how historical wounds can linger for generations. On April 26, 1901, the infamous Tom "Blackjack" Ketchum, known for his train robberies in the Old West, was executed in Union County, New Mexico. The image documents a gruesome ending. Inexperienced executioners used too long a rope, causing his head to be torn off as he fell. It was the only hanging in the county's history, making his death a tragic and legendary event. This photograph captures the harshness and danger of punishment, in an era where justice could be as brutal as the crime.
In 1944, during the Marshall Islands Campaign, the U.S. Pacific Fleet was preparing for combat, bearing the strain of a seemingly endless war. The famous phrase reflects the fear and determination in the face of Japanese power, as if each move awakened a sleeping giant. The photograph captures the concentration and nervousness of sailors and officers ready to confront the enemy. It is a frozen moment of bravery and strategy amid the chaos of the Pacific. In 1950, in southeast Los Angeles, the Sun-Kissed Gardens development was built with VA subsidies, but solely for white veterans, reflecting the racial segregation of the time. The image shows streets and houses that symbolize both progress and exclusion, while entire communities were marginalized by discriminatory policies. This project highlights how structural racism shaped housing and the American dream. Today, the photograph serves as a reminder of the systematic injustices in American urban history. On October 28, 1940, Orson Welles and H.G. Wells met to discuss the state of the world in the midst of World War II. The image captures two brilliant minds sharing ideas and concerns about the future, between the creativity of cinema and the vision of science fiction. Their gestures reflect the intensity of the conversation and the gravity of the times. It is a historic encounter that unites imagination, intellect, and the turbulent context of 1940. On April 25, 1945, known as Elba Day, American and Soviet troops met at Torgau on the banks of the Elbe River, marking a decisive moment in World War II. The historic meeting symbolized the splitting of the Nazi army in two and the imminent defeat of Germany. The photograph captures the emotion and relief of soldiers who, after years of conflict, stand shoulder to shoulder. It is a moment that encapsulates collaboration, victory, and the end of a dark chapter in world history. In 1908, in Tascosa, Texas, a group of authentic cowboys was captured by Irwin E. Smith's camera as they rested after their long days. Far from the glamour of cinema, the photo depicts the reality of the Old West: tired men, worn clothes, and an air of rugged camaraderie. Every gesture and look reflects the daily life of those who lived off cattle ranching and the frontier. It is a genuine testament to a time that movies only attempted to romanticize. In the cold winter of 1946, the city of Munich experienced severe food shortages, and hunger was felt in every neighborhood. Graffiti appeared on the walls reading, "Americans, give us something to eat, or we won't forget Hitler," reflecting the desperation and resentment of the population. The image captures the tension between everyday suffering and the recent memory of the war. It is a stark testament to how survival and politics intertwined in post-war Germany. On March 19, 1937, in Scotts Run, West Virginia, a coal miner poses with his family inside their home, depicting the reality of life in the mining communities. The photo reflects the daily struggle, family closeness, and harsh working conditions that defined existence in that region. Every detail of the home and the expressions of its members tell stories of sacrifice and resilience. It is an intimate portrait of daily life during the Great Depression in the United States. In 1966, the rice fields west of Saigon were pockmarked by craters left by U.S. B-52 bombing raids during the Vietnam War. The image shows the devastation on lands that once fed entire communities, transforming fertile landscapes into zones of destruction. Every furrow and hole reflects the impact of the conflict on the daily lives of the local population. It is a vivid reminder of how war altered both the land and human existence. In 1912, Ishi, the last known member of the Yahi people of California, became a symbol of a nearly extinct culture. After living most of his life isolated from modern society, his encounter with the outside world fascinated and moved many. The photograph captures his silent presence,
and the mix of curiosity and sadness of someone who represents an entire lost people. It is a portrait of loneliness, resilience, and the deep imprint of Indigenous history in the United States. At the 1972 Olympic Games in Munich, Dwayne Bobbick of the United States and Theophilo Stevenson of Cuba faced off in the heavyweight quarterfinals. The image captures the intensity and concentration of both athletes, every punch and every movement charged with strategy and power. More than a fight, it was a clash of styles and national pride on the Olympic stage.
In the midst of the First Liberian Civil War during the 1990s, the feared Jungle Jabba is shown in the center of the image with his men, wearing sunglasses as a symbol of power and violence. His group was responsible for unspeakable atrocities, including murder, torture, and the enslavement of hundreds of people. The photograph reflects the chaos, fear, and brutality of a conflict marked by impunity and terror. It is a chilling portrait of human cruelty in one of Liberia's darkest chapters. In September 1960, an American man, dressed as Hitler and nicknamed the Red Hitler, demonstrated during Soviet Premier Nikita Khrushchev's visit to the United States. The image reflects the tension of the Cold War and the fear of communism that pervaded American society. His provocative attire and defiant gesture capture the extreme political climate of the time. It is an ironic and disturbing portrait of how the international conflict seeped into the country's streets. In 1949, Eleanor Roosevelt, former First Lady of the United States, proudly holds the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, a document she helped draft for the United Nations. Her tireless dedication to global justice, equality, and human dignity is captured in the image. Her gaze conveys conviction and hope in a world still rebuilding after World War II. It is a testament to the power of diplomacy and activism in 20th century history. Around 1898, a soldier from the 1st U.S. Volunteer Cavalry, known as the Rough Riders, is captured on horseback wielding a Collins & Co. No. 22 machete during the Spanish-American War. The image reflects the bravery and daring of these men, who fought in unfamiliar terrain and under harsh conditions. Each gesture conveys the energy and courage characteristic of the volunteer cavalry. It is a portrait of action and determination in one of the shortest but most decisive conflicts in American history. In February 1943, Eleanor Roosevelt and China's First Lady, Song Mei-ling, met outside the White House during war negotiations with Japan. The photograph captures a moment of female diplomacy in the midst of World War II, displaying cooperation and leadership beyond the battlefield. Their expressions reflect determination and mutual respect in a context of global tension. It is a testament to the crucial role these women played in international politics at the time. In 1843, what is considered the world's first photograph of a government official was taken, showing the 6th President of the United States, John Quincy Adams. The image captures the former president at a historic moment, marking the beginning of photographic documentation of political leaders. His serene and formal demeanor reflects the authority and dignity of someone who had already left a profound mark on the nation. It is a pioneering portrait that unites politics and 19th century technological innovation. On January 3, 1959, Alaska became the 49th state of the United States, marking the end of a long history of exploration, trade, and territorial conflict. Before its U.S. annexation, Russia had invaded and subjugated its native peoples for fur trapping profits, leaving profound cultural and social imprints. The photograph symbolizes the transition from a remote and dangerous territory to a key element of the American Union. It is a reminder of how geopolitical and economic history shaped the destiny of this region. On June 20, 1943, Werner Drexler, wounded by a gunshot wound to his right knee, disembarked from the USS Osmond Ingram in Norfolk, Virginia. The image reflects the hardship and sacrifice of soldiers during World War II, showing a moment of vulnerability and recovery. His expression and posture convey the determination of those who face the conflict with courage despite the pain. It is an intimate portrait of the personal struggle that accompanied global war. In 1998, 118-year-old Sarah Knaus poses for a family photo in the United States, depicting a life that spanned 3 centuries. Her calm expression reflects the wisdom and serenity accumulated over decades of historical and social change. The image captures a moment of celebration and family connection surrounding extraordinary longevity. It is a visual testament to resilience, memory, and the beauty of long life. Around 1885, former U.S. President Ulysses S. Grant was writing his memoirs on the porch of his cabin in upstate New York. The image depicts a calm and thoughtful man, transforming his military and political experience into a written legacy for posterity. Every gesture conveys focus and determination as he puts his life story into words. It is an intimate portrait of a leader's dedication and discipline even after leaving power. In September 1945, Allied commanders from the Soviet Union, France, the United Kingdom, and the United States gathered at the Victory Parade in Berlin, celebrating the end of World War II. The image captures the solemnity and pride of leaders who led armies in one of the most devastating conflicts in history. Their gestures and uniforms reflect authority, relief, and cooperation after years of war. It is a historic moment that symbolizes both victory and the beginning of a new world order. On March 6, 1970, an explosion rocked a townhouse in Greenwich Village, New York City, as members of the American militant group Weather Underground were preparing bombs in the basement of the residence at 18 West 11th Street. The photograph captures the rubble and devastation, a testament to an extreme act in the name of political struggle. This deadly accident reflects the intensity and risks of radical movements in the United States during that era. It is a reminder of the danger and unpredictability of political domestic violence. In 1968, during the My Lai massacre in Vietnam, pilot Hugh Thompson became a hero by landing his helicopter between American troops and civilians, stopping the killing. The image shows him in a moment of bravery and unwavering morale, facing danger to protect innocent lives. His action defied military orders and customs, placing ethics above war. It is a portrait of courage and humanity amid one of the darkest episodes of the Vietnam conflict. In 1943, Kurt Waldheim, who would later become President of Austria, appears in this infamous photograph during his service in the German Wehrmacht during World War II. Decades later, his military past sparked controversy and led to his being banned from entering the United States for alleged war crimes. The image captures a young man in uniform whose historical trajectory would be marked by debate and controversy. It is a visual reminder of how the secrets and actions of the past can haunt even prominent political figures. In 1953, an everyday scene in the United States shows students learning to drive under the watchful eye of instructors. The photograph reflects the transition to mass mobility and the car culture that defined the post-war period. Every gesture conveys the concentration, nervousness, and enthusiasm of those preparing for independence behind the wheel. It is a nostalgic glimpse into daily life and the small challenges of an era marked by the rise of the road and the motor. On February 3, 1942, in Flint, Michigan, factory workers gathered around the last Buick produced before the plant shifted production to the war effort. The image captures pride and nostalgia as the American auto industry transformed to support World War II. Each face reflects dedication and community spirit in times of change and sacrifice. It is a testament to how the war shaped both the economy and everyday life in the United States. Between December 18 and 29, 1972, during the Christmas Day bombing raids, the United States relentlessly attacked Hanoi and Haiphong, hitting both military and civilian targets, including schools and hospitals. The image reflects the devastation and suffering of thousands of Vietnamese civilians caught in the middle of the conflict.
Every piece of rubble and destroyed building tells stories of loss and fear in an increasingly contentious war. It is a grim reminder of the human cost of indiscriminate military campaigns. On February 18, 1925, President Calvin Coolidge poses with 4 members of the Osage community after signing the law granting full citizenship to Native Americans. The image captures a historic moment of legal recognition and civil rights, marking an important step toward equality. Their expressions reflect pride and hope after decades of struggle for citizenship and justice. It is a symbolic portrait of a significant shift in the relationship between the government and Native Americans in the United States.
On August 12, 1898, in Honolulu, the flag of the Kingdom of Hawaii was lowered in front of Iolani Palace to raise the flag of the United States, marking the annexation of the archipelago. The image captures a moment of profound political and cultural change, symbolizing the end of the Hawaiian monarchy and the beginning of American dominance. Every gesture and look reflects the mix of solemnity, resignation, and tension of that historic day. It is a visual testament to how diplomatic events can transform nations and lives. On September 8, 1974, at the White House, President Gerald Ford announced his decision to pardon Richard Nixon, ending the shadow of the Watergate scandal. The photograph captures the seriousness and tension of the moment, reflecting the political and media heat that enveloped the country. His gestures convey the mix of authority and controversy that accompanied the decision. It is a historic moment that symbolizes reconciliation, but also polarization in American politics. Between 1843 and 1848, the 6th President of the United States, John Quincy Adams, was photographed by Matthew Brady, a pioneer of American photography. The image shows Adams in his old age, with a serene demeanor that reflects his long political and diplomatic career. Every detail of his expression and posture conveys authority, experience, and historical contemplation. It is an iconic portrait that unites 19th century politics with the early innovation of photography. In 1922, Hyman George Rickover, future admiral and known as the father of the nuclear navy, appears in his U.S. Naval Academy yearbook photo as a midshipman. The image portrays a disciplined and determined young man, his eyes fixed on a future of innovation and leadership. His early decades already displayed the determination that would lead him to revolutionize naval technology. It is an early portrait of a man destined to leave an indelible mark on American military history. In 1936, in New Orleans, a monument known as the Battle of Liberty Place displayed an inscription celebrating the 1874 coup attempt by the White League against the Reconstruction government. The photograph reflects how historical memory could be manipulated to glorify racism and white supremacy. Each word on the monument is a reminder of the persistent racial tensions in the American South. It is a visual testament to how official history sometimes glorifies oppression rather than justice. In 1910, Hyman Jennings was arrested in Chicago after being suspected of murdering Clarence D. Hiller during a failed robbery, marking a milestone in American criminal history. The photograph shows him in custody in the Cook County Jail, while the first trial where fingerprint evidence was used against a defendant was being prepared. His case forever changed the way crimes were investigated and solved in the country. It is a historic portrait that unites crime, forensic science, and emerging justice. In 1904, somewhere in the rural United States, a boy is scolded by a man holding a pitchfork, capturing the strict discipline of farm life at the time. The image reflects the everyday hardships and the relationship between work, authority, and education in rural communities. Each gesture conveys a mixture of fear, obedience, and daily routine. It is an intimate glimpse into how life and education were experienced in rural America at the beginning of the 20th century. On May 6, 1937,
The Hindenburg airship suffered a tragic crash in Lakehurst, New Jersey, marking one of aviation's most famous disasters. The photograph captures the moment the enormous aircraft, engulfed in flames, plummets before the horrified eyes of those present. This event symbolized the end of the era of airships as safe transportation and left an indelible mark on media and aviation history. It is a dramatic portrait of danger, technology, and tragedy in the 1930s. In April 1845, a daguerreotype of Andrew Jackson, the 7th President of the United States, was taken just months before his death. The image shows him aged but resolute, reflecting the strength and determination that characterized him during his presidency. Every line of his face conveys experience and character of a leader who left a profound mark on the country's history. It is an intimate and solemn portrait of the final months of a 19th-century political icon.
In 1843, the 12th President of the United States, Zachary Taylor, is portrayed in an image that has been colorized to revive his historical presence. The photograph reflects his military bearing and authority, recalling his career as a general before assuming the presidency. Every detail of his expression conveys the discipline, firmness, and determination that characterized him on the battlefield and in politics. It is a portrait that connects the military and presidential life of one of the leaders of the 19th century. In June 1944, soldiers of the U.S. 1st Infantry Division, the Big Red One, were preparing in southern England to set sail for Omaha Beach, Normandy. The photograph captures the tension, concentration, and camaraderie of men about to face one of the most decisive landings of World War II. Every look and gesture reflects the mixture of fear, determination, and duty that defined these combatants. It is a historic moment that anticipates the courage and sacrifice that would mark D-Day. On May 8, 1941, in Chicago, isolationist women from the America First Committee protested against U.S. intervention in World War II during the visit of Ambassador Lord Halifax. The photograph reflects the intensity of the domestic debate in the country, where public opinion was divided between neutrality and commitment to war. Their gestures and banners demonstrate conviction, fear of foreign conflict, and defense of national sovereignty. It is a portrait of domestic politics and citizen participation at critical moments in American history. Between 1860 and 1865, William H. Seward, the 24th U.S. Secretary of State, appears in this photograph displaying his serious and determined demeanor. During his term, he played a key role in Civil War policy and the Alaska Purchase, leaving a lasting legacy in American diplomacy. Every detail of his expression and posture reflects authority, vision, and commitment to the nation in turbulent times. It is a portrait that combines political leadership and the historical gravity of a crucial era.